Good day, I'm Daniel Martin Dizon, and I'm going to present to you my simple Python project, which is F1 Statistical Analysis and Visualization. So, my project visualizes the certain rankings in the sport F1, specifically the driver standings, constructor standings, and the correlation of the driver's age and their points. The data for this project is from Ergas API, which is an API that contains all historical data that is related to Formula 1. So this project utilizes the various modules, requests for the API, pandas, and matplotlib.pyplot for the data visualization, as well as datetime for the last part of the project. So I was not able to use NumPy as the data is already in from an API, and the pandas module is already in use. So for the first part of the project, which is the data visualization, the driver standings. So I have used an Gemini to generate a code snippet that will let me fetch the data from Ergast API. So here it is. And learn the documentation, which is this one, for the Ergast API so that I could get the appropriate data. So after the data is fetched, I've created lists wherein the data from the API will be inserted into the created list according to their data type and name. For the points list, I have used float as some of the data contains decimals. So after putting all of the needed data into the lists, I have utilized Panda to turn the list into a data frame, which gives it a structure and have sorted the values. So I have also adjusted the index so that when it is printed, the ranking will be shown in the index 1 instead of index 0. So this code will let me do it. So after the data frame is created, I have created a code that will let me visualize the data through a horizontal bar graph, which is this one. So why a horizontal bar graph? It's so that the names of the drivers could be properly shown. I've also created a dictionary that contains the teams and colors, and a code that will, so this is the dictionary, and this is the code that will let me sort the drivers according to their team. So I've also sorted it in the descending order, wherein the driver with the most points will be shown first. So if you run this, here is the result. So as you can see, the drivers with the most points up to the drivers with the least or no points. And here is the details for all the drivers. So for the next part, the data visualization for the constructor standings has a similar code from the first one. Aside from, I did different data is fetched, which is this, and as well as a normal bar graph is used, and it is sorted in an ascending order. And as you can see, here is the visualization of the code and data, and here are the details for each team. So for the last part is the correlation and between the driver's age and points. Similar with the previous two parts, requests and pandas were used to fetch and organize the data needed. So for this part, it utilizes the datetime module, which is this one, wherein this part is run to calculate the age of each driver based on the season that they drove in. And it is also shown that missing data is considered in this part, wherein the except clause, which is this one and this one, prints a warning that missing data or an error occurs, and it will be excluded or not fetched with the use of this code. And then a scatter plot is used to visualize the data and its correlation. And I've also added driver names for each data points in the scatter plot through this code. And then I've also shown the correlation coefficient, which is this code. And then here's the result of the code. As you can see that here's the scatter plot, and each of the data points have a label, which are the driver's names. And as you can see, here is the correlation coefficient. It is shown that it has little to no correlation at all. And as seen in all the codes, there is an integer value, which is this one, wherein you can change it into a different year, though it's only good for 2019 to 2024, as I've not arranged it for all the years or all time. So if you change it to 2020, as you can see here, so it will show the data from 2020. So as also seen in the codes, I have put all the function calls at the end of the codes. And that is all from my presentation. That is all. Thank you.